I thought it'd be useful to do a video on what's called the Abilene Paradox because this often just gets put in the category of groupthink. But I wanted to explore it in light of what the left brain does and how the left brain acts as an interpreter to reality. So that's really the function of the left brain, to explore the world, look for data, create a hypothesis, and then come to a conclusion. And you could see how that would be helpful in terms of survival, being able to find patterns in reality, make predictions. But the problem is that these conclusions are only right maybe half the time, if that. They got us just to the point of surviving. And that's only half the problem, because the other half of the problem is that not only are we wrong half the time with these interpretations, but we don't know we're wrong half the time. So the interpreter, while it's often wrong, its confidence is always 100%. And I used to have some fun in class. I'd ask the students, I'd say, tell me, write down how many times you've been wrong in the last year. And you just see everyone kind of scratching their head and just looking around like, I've never been wrong. And then you say, well, okay, how many times have you been right? And people just start writing and, endlessly writing because, of course, we've been right so often. And that's fine. That's just what the left brain does. Again, very helpful for survival. And when it comes to metacognition, which is our thoughts about other people's thoughts, I've done videos on how poor we are at this task. We are really not very good at it at all, but we think we are. We think we're pretty good at reading other people's minds. Now, when it comes to emotion, that's actually a whole different story. Emotions are millions of years older than thinking, and we are connected emotionally. And so if you're walking and a stranger, total stranger, never met before, and they take a bad fall down some stairs and you could see they're in pain, you may actually feel their pain. If you're walking and someone's crying on the street, and you may feel their emotions, and this is someone you've never even met, and you're probably dead on accurate. If you're feeling sadness, that person's probably feeling sad. But thinking is a totally different story, and that's what this Abilene Paradox is all about. When we try to figure out what those around us are thinking, we're not very good. In fact, we're terrible. And the paper that was written in the 70s by Jerry Harvey uses a story about a family traveling to Abilene for dinner to illustrate and explain the paradox itself. And I'm not really sure it's a paradox, but it's a very interesting phenomenon. And so this has happened to my family. I know several times that we were going to go out to eat, at least once on vacation, where the option of, okay, where are we going to get dinner tonight? And everyone mistakenly believes that everyone in the family wants to take this long drive to Abilene, which has, mediocre food. And because they all believe everyone wants to do it, they go along with it, and I say, okay. And that's the real irony of the situation. No one in the room wants to do this, but everyone in the room thinks that everyone else in the room wants to, and so they go along with it. And that creates an actual reality in which they did actually go to Abilene and have dinner. And it wasn't until they got home that there was this emperor is naked moment where one person just breaks down and says, wow, I didn't want to do that in the first place. And then everyone eventually admits, you're right. None of us wanted to go there at all. So misreading others' thoughts can have real-world consequences, but not just ruining a Sunday. People have looked at this as what might be behind the disaster of the Challenger shuttle. And so when the Challenger exploded, that could have been at least partly due to everyone believing that everyone else thought it was safe and good to go. And this also happens with elections. People look out at polling data, and what polling data does is it influences your left brain. Well, what are other people thinking? Who are they going to vote for? And if the interpreter says, well, this person has no chance, no one may vote for them, not because they don't think they're a good candidate, but because they think no one else is going to vote for them. And it's the collective belief that creates the reality where that candidate doesn't get elected. So what is this all pointing to? Well, the right brain has a very special role in counterbalancing the left brain practically in every function. In terms of creating interpretations, the right brain is what V.S. Ramachandran called the devil's advocate. Its job is to question the stories and conclusions of the left brain. And if they get too far out of line, it steps in with a reality check. It steps in and updates and creates a paradigm shift and modifies the left brain. And this has happened to us in our lives where, sometimes our stories get so far out of line. Maybe you're in a debate, in an argument, and someone's data is just so good. Your right brain steps in, and then you come to a totally different conclusion. And so because we live in such a left brain culture, what I mean by that is not metaphorical, it's actually literal, that our culture is left brain dominant, that the majority of what we do and what we value reflect left brain functions. And that, along with social media and technology, creates a very difficult situation because the left brain has already come to a conclusion that it believes in 100%. But with social media, particularly with algorithms that create like-minded friends and like-minded followers, you're going to find a whole world of people who confirm exactly what your left brain has already interpreted. And so that increases its confidence, and that's why we see so much division and so much debate. We actually see very little debate. We see a lot of argument, which is, again, there's two ways to go into this. One is like the left brain goes in and says, I'm certain and I'm right, and I'm just going to prove that you're wrong. The right brain is much different in every respect because while the left brain has certainty, the right brain embraces uncertainty. Uncertainty, like, I don't know. And from Eastern philosophy, that's a general principle of living in a good, healthy world, is going in with an I don't know attitude, which is in reality far more close to the real situation. Most of the time we do not know. And so that gives us a healthy balance. So what can we do about this? How can you find yourself in this Abilene paradox, and how do we stop it? And people have given all kinds of various ways that we may prevent. And one, of course, is just to speak out. That's very difficult, though. Humans, particularly when we're faced with a group, family's hard enough. But if you imagine this at work or with large bureaucratic systems, it may be very, very difficult to actually speak out and question reality. Because as human beings, even being ostracized goes back down to simple bacteria. Bacteria will ostracize other bacteria if they do not fall in line with the group. And so this is kind of hardwired into our system. But instead of looking at it on a group level, the real practice can be an individual practice of questioning your own interpretations. In other words, yes, you may have the thought that you know what other people are thinking, but you also have that space of uncertainty where the right brain could step in and say, maybe I don't know their thinking at all.